Good morning, friends. In the last lecture, we have discussed the instrumentation of the flame photometry. In the instrumentation part, we have seen the different components of this particular flame photometer. In that, we have seen the burner or say flame is very much important. Second was a collimating mirror. Then, from the collimating mirror, it goes to the phototube, amplifier, and then to the readout device that we have seen. From the flame it goes to the monochromator, photocell, then the amplifier, and finally the readout device. That was the construction, or say you can say the instrumentation of this particular flame photometer. We have completed this part. Today we have to see the principle of the another technique. The name of the technique is the AAS, that is atomic absorption spectroscopy. In the last part, we talk regarding the flame emission spectroscopy. Are you getting this point? What we have seen in the last lecture, we talk about the principle of the flame emission spectroscopy, that is FES. Now today we are going to discuss the principle of the atomic absorption spectroscopy. Sometime the question may come on this part, discuss the basic principle involved in the AAS, or say atomic absorption spectroscopy. Now here again we are taking this particular sample salt solution or say metal salt solution that is introduced into the flame, right? Then what will happen? When that sample or say that metal salt solution has been introduced into the flame, at that time a vapor containing the atoms of the metal is formed, that we have seen. When we introduce that particular metal salt solution in the flame, at that time it will produce the flame which contains the atoms of the metal, and a following event will takes place. Again the same first step, when we are introducing the sample salt solution in the flame, at that time what will happen? First of all, the solvent starts to evaporate, leaving behind the tiny solid particles of the metallic salt, that is denoted by the MX. Then evaporation will take place. Then solid dissociated by the evaporation into the gaseous atom of the metal and the corresponding ion. The most of the atom remain in the ground state. Now here it is very much important. We have to use such a flame which will keep the metal atom maximum in the ground state. These atoms, whatever the atoms are present in the ground state, they are capable of absorbing their own characteristic radiation or say wavelength. This characteristic wavelength is allowed to pass through to the flame. The dispersed atom in the ground state absorb a part of incident radiation, and the absorption of the radiation by atoms follow the Beer-Lambert's law. That is, the absorption is directly proportional to the concentration of the atoms in the flame and the path length in the flame. Have you got this particular thing? What we are doing? First of all, we are introducing the metal salt solution into the flame. You know, when you are introducing the flame, at that time it will give the vapor containing the atoms of the metal salt. Of course, when we are bringing anything in the flame, at that time it will start to decompose. Similar way, when we are introducing the sample salt solution or say metal salt solution into the flame, at that time flame will produce the vapors of that particular salt solution containing the metal atom. First of all, solvent will start to evaporate. It will left behind the solid tiny particles of the metallic salt, MX. After further getting the energy from the flame, heat energy from the flame, what will happen? It will that whatever the solid MX is there, that will start to convert into the gaseous atoms of the metal and their respective anion. The most of the atom, the characteristics of the flame should be, it should have to kept maximum atom in the ground state. The most of the atoms remains in the ground state, then atoms are capable of absorbing their own characteristics wavelength or say radiation. This characteristic wavelength is allowed to pass through the flame. Then what will do? Particular wavelength, particular radiation we will allow to pass through the flame. Then the dispersed atoms in the ground state absorb the part of incident radiation. They will absorb the energy from that particular radiation. And what will happen? The absorption will be there. And that absorption of the radiation by the atoms will follow the Beer-Lambert's law. That is, absorption is directly proportional to the concentration of the atoms in the flame and the path length of the flame. A is equal to log to the base 10 I0 by IT, which is equal to minus log to the base 10 T, that is T is equal to IT by I0. And in simply, absorption is equal to epsilon BC. Got that point? Absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of the atoms. That is shown A is equal to epsilon BC. The absorption depends on the number of excited atoms present in the flame. Hence, it is independent of the flame temperature. The absorption depends on the number of the excited atoms present in the flame, and hence it is independent of the flame temperature. I have got very simple principle is there. It is similar to this flame emission spectroscopy principle of the FES. Only difference is that instead of the emission, here it will be the absorption. And that we will monitor absorption with the help of the Beer-Lambert's law. By using the Beer-Lambert's law, we will correlate that absorption is directly proportional to the concentration of that number of atoms present in the flame and the path length of the flame. Have you got this principle? The another part is the instrumentation. Explain the use of the halocathode lamps with a label diagram giving one advantage. Describe the construction and working of the graphite furnace, that is the electrothermal atomizer. Explain the electrothermal atomizer in the AS with the neat label diagram. Here you can see this is the components of the AS. First of all, the power supply is there. Next to that, halocathode lamp is there. Then rotating chopper is there, burner is there, prism is there, photocell is there, then the amplifier is there, and next last one is the readout device or say readout meter. got this. Have you seen this? But in the hollow cathode lamp, you can see the tungsten anode is there, glass shield is there. Okay, and this is the hollow surface is there. That's why it's called as a hollow cathode lamp. That we will see in the one by one. We can see radiation source is very much important. Each element present in the sample absorbs the characteristic radiation of their own. Hence, a separate lab source is required for each element. The most commonly used source of light is hollow cathode lamp. We have to talk about the hollow cathode lamp. It consists of the hollow cylindrical cathode. Here, the diagram has been shown. Hollow cathode lamp. You can see the anode is there, cathode is there, hollow cathode is there. Then quartz window is there. Then neon or argon. At 1.125 torr, that pressure is there. Glass shield is there. This is the hollow cathode lamp. Hollow cathode lamp consists of the hollow cylindrical cathode cup of the element under study. Which element we have to study? For that purpose, we have to use this particular hollow cathode lamp. The cathode is usually surrounded by a glass or porcelain shield. The cathode has been surrounded by the glass or say porcelain shield. It consists of the tungsten wire which act as anode. The two electrodes are enclosed in the glass tube containing inert gas, argon or neon at low pressure. When high potential is applied, near about the 300 volt is applied across the electrode, then the inert gas will start to ionize. The ions collide with the cathode surface. Metal atoms from the surface, that is called as the sputtering process. The ions collides with the cathode surface or say metal atoms. Cathode surface form metal atoms form the surface. Metal atoms will start to form at that surface. It is called as the sputtering process. These metal atoms collide with the highly energetic gas ions and get excited. These excited metal atoms emit their characteristic radiation. This emitted radiation appears as a bright glow in the hollow cathode cup. You got this particular hollow cathode lamp. What is there in the hollow cathode lamp? Very simple it is. Cathode cup is there. Metallic cathode cup is there. Which element we have to detect? Of that metal, only that hollow cathode cup should be there. Means let's say I'm saying that for the example, if we are going to estimate the copper or say aluminum, then we want to take that particular hollow cathode cup of this particular copper or say aluminum. The cathode is surrounded by the glass or porcelain shield. You got this point? What is did there? This particular hollow cathode cup is shielded by this glass or say porcelain shield. Then it consists of the tungsten wire which will act as the anode. These two electrodes like the tungsten wire and the hollow cathode cup will be enclosed in the glass tube containing inert gas like the argon or neon at a low pressure near about 1 to 5 torr. What will happen when we are providing the potential, high potential near about the 300 volt, then is applied across the electrodes, then the inert gas is ionized. Then whatever the ions of that gas formed, they will collide. Ions collides with the surface of the cathode surface, metal atoms forms on the surface. This process is called as the sputtering process. These metal atoms collide with highly energetic gas ions and get excited. These excited metal atoms emit their character, characteristic radiation. These emitted radiations appears as a bright glow in the hollow cathode cup. You got this point? Very simple it is. What is there? Whatever the will occur, all processes that especially you can see here, the when what we are going to do in the hollow cathode lamp, the metal under study means estimate which metal we have to estimate. We have to take such a hollow cathode lamp, hollow cathode cup of that material. Means I said copper or aluminum or any example you can take any metal atom. We have to estimate or say we have to identify. At that time we have to take the hollow cathode cup of that material or say that metal only. Getting that point? Means it is again difficult to estimate or say identify or quantify the another metal. Means one hollow cathode cup will responsible for the only one sort of the metal. Are you getting my point? Means it will become this. The disadvantage of the AS. That may be the disadvantage of the AS. Remember this thing. Okay. Then what will happen that when the sputtering is there, due to the sputtering, the metal atoms are formed on the surface. Then these metal atoms will collide with the highly energetic gas ions and get excited. When any metal or say any atom goes in the excited state, it comes to the ground state by emitting their characteristics radiation. As we all know, because excited state is the short-lived one. Any element, any atom live in the excited state for the very short period. It comes to the ground state by releasing their energy. And similarly, whatever the excited metal atoms are there, they will emit their characteristics wavelength or say characteristics radiation. This emitted radiation, whatever there will be the emission of the radiation, it will appears as a bright glow in the hollow cathode lamp. Here we'll go get the bright glow, means some light will produce here and it will pass through this particular quartz window or say mica window to this particular or sample salt solution. We will see the function of the rotating chopper in the next lecture. Today just here to see this is the basic components of this particular AS. We have talked the principle of this particular atomic absorption spectroscopy. Very simple principle is there. The principle and that atomic absorption spectroscopy basically based on the Beer-Lambert's law that you have to remember. A is absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration and the path length. Means A is equal to epsilon BC, that you have to see. Epsilon is nothing but a permittivity coefficient. Okay, what we have seen, first of all we have to introduce the salt solution in the flame will vaporize that and it will form that particular atoms of this particular metallic salt. Okay, then this atom will absorb the characteristic wavelength and then there will be this particular absorbed radiation will follow the Beer-Lambert's law that we have seen. Then we have related absorptions. Then we have seen the transmittance. E is equal to that. These transmittance over here. A is the absorbance, T is the transmittance. Please remember these terms. Then we come to know and the last way we have seen the absorption depends upon the number of the excited atoms. The absorption depends on the number of unexcited atoms present in the flame, and hence it is independent of the flame temperature. Unexcited, huh? This is the components of the AS that we have seen one by one. Here it is a hollow cathode lamp is there. Then we have seen rotating chopper is there, burner is there. Then the monochromator is there, photocell is there, amplifier is there, and the readout device. Very simple construction is there. In that we have seen the first part, that is a hollow cathode lamp. In the next lecture we will go to explain the next component of this particular AS, atomic absorption spectroscopy. Today we will stop here. Thank you.